Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel where today we're talking about camping at level 29. And this one's going to be a lot different than the previous camping videos. And not that some of the information has changed, like some of the strategies that you would want to use or even think about using. But I'd say that the strategy I'm going to propose to you for level 29 is probably something that you're probably going to go, I don't know, it might not fit for everybody. Because I'm going to introduce the idea of soft camping. So when I talked about level 19 was basically about maxing out at that level. Level 25, basically maxing out at that level. When I've done 39, basically maxing out at that level. But level 29 introduces the soft camping idea because, well, to be completely frank, there's a dead zone, okay? And every earlies, whether it's the early 20s, the early 30s, early 40s, are basically dead zones in the game. But yet at the end of the 20s, there's not exactly a lot because there's so mmany big things happening at say 30, 31, for example. Your ability to upgrade the Stella and take it to the next level. Level 30, you start getting rare, plutoniums and uraniums and stuff. So there's these bottlenecks that happen. And then you talk about totality of how many researches have become available in the early 30s. Just to get to level 33, it's something like over 300 different researches, including all the individual levels, that you can research up to that point. So there's a lot that starts happening, but none of it conclusively happens at one level. Now, one of the drawbacks that some people are going to say about camping at level 29 is that after level 28, some of the brackets for leaderboards start changing, and this is true, making it more difficult to win some events like Riker events for when the Riker solo leaderboard came around. A lot of those are called auctions, and generally they're considered whale style events anyway. However, it is still a good point to be made, and that's why I talk about soft camping. And honestly, we could use this interchangeably with other levels like 28, 29, where you're kind of focusing this on every range. Where the next big spot that I really think that you could just sit, camp, and max is probably level 35. You could even argue 34, but I threw 35 in there just because one, research, and two, the Franklin A comes out. And that doesn't mean that you have 6 levels of you're going to be awful. I mean, you can choose to use these strategies and employ them how you will or deploy them how you will. But let's start with the number one things that I think you should do no matter what by 29. And so these 6 things are probably things that you would be really, really remiss to not do by the time you're ready to go into the 30s, whether you choose to camp all the way at 28 or if you wanted to jump into 31, 33. That's the whole idea of soft camping, is giving yourself sustainable short targets to jump to, like you're leapfrogging a few levels, and then you'll sit at the big ones. Number one is getting a max chin, and obviously Talon as well. Now, Talon as a common officer will happen first. You'll get Talon maxed out pretty quickly, or at least you should, especially if you're going through your normal procedures of unlocking officers. Now, for those that don't remember, we've done videos on tricks to get some of these things quicker. For example, you can go into your officers menu and go into the recruit tab. And let me take this off the screen so you can see it. Transition. Oh man, the beauty of the internet and the beauty of technology. So you can go into here. And if you've got Latinum saved up, which a lot of you aren't spending Latinum on much, and if you are, I don't know what you're spending Latinum on, because you should be dual faction grinding. We'll talk about that, to where you don't need the speed ups or anything. And here's me just working on Riker. Well, what I'll show you, I got to get through these chests real quick to show you, to remind you of a technique. And this is only one technique. However, you can, wrong button, standard recruits can be purchased with Latinum. It is 400 Latinum per 100. So if you're looking at maxing out Chin and Talon, this is a little sneaky way to do that. Granted, the pull rates are up to the RNGesus, so maybe you get an amazing pull rate and you can actually get it done pretty quickly, or you spend 10,000 Latinum to get like 10 Chin shards. I can't help the odds. I mean, that's just Scopely loving you. But it is a technique. Another thing is your augment and rogue rep, which you can see I've got some of that listed here. But let's move on to number 2 first. And that is get a tier 8 or even max out your Vadar. The Vadar is one of the very rare ships in this game that you can max out as a specialty ship without having a ton of warp and level locks, which is very important because, well, honestly, the stuff that you're about to see in the background. This your refinery for everything. And I know everybody gets hung up on the antique refinery. Just ignore that. It's literally not that important. But this is your credits and your rep. particularly the credits and the independence that you'll need for officers as you level up, but this to help get all those officers upgraded. So we talk about needing to have maxed officers and get transporter patterns and stuff, being able to speed up that process and collect these. This makes it easier to get your Saladin, makes it easier to get your Enterprise D4, you know, Centurion, Bortus, whatever it is that you want to build at 28 and 34. Maybe you even want to build some of the 32 ships. We'll talk about that in a second. This is very important to do. Not to mention a max Vadar will give you a pretty solid warship. How solid? Well, mine, granted, level 39 is at 1.2 million strength. Now, yours will probably end up being at max around 1 million. And then as you get more researches and different things, it will go up. So you're talking about a ship that's a very PvP capable ship. It's one of the rare ships in the game as a specialty ship that's not a one-trick pony. Like, it's not the USS Discovery is literally just a taxi. We only like it because it can warp summon us anywhere we want. It has no other purpose. The Franklin is only good for hunting swarms. The Vadar is good for everything. You can use it in armadas, you can use it in PvP, you can use it to do your grinding. And while it's not the best PvP ship in the world, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that it is, it's still capable, and that's really important. Number 3, Tier 8 or Tier 9 Saladin / Sent / Bortus. And I'll be real, the Saladin is the best of the three. However, you know what makes this process easier? The Centurion or the Bortus. Probably the Centurion is the best overall efficiency-wise, and here's why. Vadar, Crystal. Horizon, Crystal. If you want to build the Cavort, Antares, Valkyries, Crystal. All of it, Crystal. Lots of Crystal. D3s that you want to be scrapping at level 34, Crystal. There's a shortage of Crystal. Getting a Centurion will help you avoid some of that. Help you focus on the gas. And honestly, you're not using that much gas compared to what you would want to use if, say, you're going for the Burrell or the Enterprise. You know, the amounts that you require in the 20s are very, very small, and I get thousands of uncommons a month in the 30s. Now, granted, you level up, you get more access, and you still feel like you're always bottlenecked, but you do get more. That's going to make it really important. Number 4, 3 billion steel, 1 billion trit, 250 dilithium. Get to raiding. Some of you don't like raiding. I don't know why. If you do not want to be bottlenecked in this game for the rest of your life, raid. Here's why. Here's a level 39 building. One level 39 building. 1.2 billion par steel. You will need a couple billion par steel to get into the low 30s and go through all the ops grades and everything. You got to get used to raiding. That is a critical part of this game unless you want to spend either a lot of time waiting on biotics and waiting on refineries and events, or who can't even refinery that. I mean, guess you can't. Anyway, events, or, well, raid it. Get to raiding. That's why we have Horizons as optional. That's what ops means. Optional 1 and 2, things that you should look at. Number 5, Stella, built and rep at least accomplished. Now, you cannot max a Stella at level 29, but we're soft camping here. We're prepping for the future. We're getting it ready because you want to be able to build and scrap those Stellas. You can get your first one free once you start getting the rep. Remember, you can unlock the rep through research, and then you can start on that process. But you want to start getting at least 2 accomplished, which is where you see this account at right now, so that when the time comes, you can start getting the rare uraniums and you'll already be getting the uncommons and working through that rep, and then eventually getting the epics. So that is part of leveling up. You gotta get to levels to start seeing those, but you want to get the rep to that point to make it easier. And then 6, the Franklin as high as you can go. Remember, the Franklin also is level locked to those Franklin warp locks. You get those on missions, but you don't get extra sets. So, you know, that's going to be another thing to work on. You got lots of specialty ships in this recommendation tree. I did not list the USS Discovery because it is currently not available by any means except through purchasing or through event stores. And there's not an event store going on right now. If you can pick it up at the next event store, probably next month, then do that. Next month being, what, September, because this video is being made in August. So depends on where we're at in the month of when you watch this, because this is probably going to be a resource people refer to back regularly. Next, 5 maxed rare officers for transporter patterns. That is critical, and this is why we're doing the spam the officers window. This is why I'm talking about getting these faction credits. Spam these to max these out. The Federation, Klingon, and Romulans. I've got mine maxed out. The only one not maxed out is Kirk, and he's getting there. Maxed out, maxed out, maxed out. Every time these get pulled, I get transporter patterns, which are going to help you unlock some of the critical officers in the game. The first one that you need to unlock, Christopher Pike. Gotta have him unlocked. Soon, quickly, will change your game when it comes to hostile grinding in a great way. then you're going to want 6 to 10 for armadas. You're going to want to work on getting con to at least rank 3 for PvP and for armadas. If you want to get into the 40s and do any type of decency, these 3 are must have maxed in the 40s. So prepping ahead, really a big thing. Anyway, there's some of us. And then finally, on the last one, I recommend maxing 2 horizons. They're not that expensive, but it's up to you. Maybe you only want to max 1. It's optional. I prefer to get my faction miners as I'm leveling in the 30s, doing my hostile dailies. I'll have those drop as blueprints because I'm going to be hitting thousands of dailies. Because remember, another thing not listed but recommended is maxing out your rep, which you'll see here, or locking out your rep at 10 million. What you basically see here are solid starter recommendations where you see we're focusing on ships and officers, not as much focusing on buildings and research. You only need to do that for what is required to go to the next level. Remember, there's hundreds of researches that start unlocking, but if you sit there and camp at each individual level to max out, even at 29, 31, 33, you're not getting a lot of good, but you're holding yourself back to a lot of great. I think it's very important to get to 34 and 35 to 2 of the most explosive ships in the game, whether it's the epics, also including the Franklin A in that, because it really starts changing the gameplay to help the economy open up. The refinery's never great. The lights turned off for some reason. Okay, that was weird. It's a ghost in my room. If I die, remember me. But anyway, this video is already running long. But the idea of soft camping is to complete small objectives and then jump up into only doing what you have to do research and building wise to get to a major camp level. Now, some things I do recommend always focusing on: efficiency researches. Never forget your pure titaniums, your pure dilithiums, the crystal research you can do. Also, one of the reasons we're camping soft at 29, as soon as you get into the 30s, you can start doing territory researches that you can start doing efficiency in that area. Those particles are going to become very important. So you're raiding isogen, you're doing OPC hunting. All of this matters. By the way, the Franklin, if you're not OPC hunting as a free-to-play player, that thing's going to take forever to max. Sorry. Whew, soft camping is a very big topic in terms of it's a very expansive idea. I'm sorry, I don't know why this light turned off, but it's got to come back on. This one's dead too, but whatever. So the soft camping is simply to give you small incremental goals to jump through. This strategy might not be great for everybody, and I get that, because it is asking a lot while still doing not that much. I mean, I want you to raid a ton. 3 billion steel is not a lot to me, but it's going to be a lot for you using horizons, and eventually at 32 using faction miners, which when you do get the faction miners, I take them to maybe tier 4, tier 5, max tier 6, so you're saving a lot of those crystals for other things that you need, unless you're swiping the old Amex black card. And if you are, well, then none of this really applies to you. Do whatever the heck you want, because you've got money for days, weeks, months even. Yeah. So if you have specific questions about soft camping, because I really don't think I can cover it in a 12, 13-minute video completely, drop it down below. There's so many things that open up in the low 30s, but simply not enough to justify camping there long term. So the soft camping idea is the happy medium I've come up with to do that while still allowing you to progress relatively quickly. Remember, it's not about being the strongest player. It's about being an efficient player. And honestly, what's more efficient than getting what you want, which is the Enterprise D4 and Augur, because they're amazing. So, hopefully this video helped you. Live long and prosper. Stay safe out there, Space Cowboys. If I could do anything to help you out, as always, comment section down below. Hit me up on Twitch. Hit me up on Discord. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on anywhere that I am, and I will gladly help you out. Y'all are amazing. You're the reason I do these videos, and I love you and appreciate you. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one.
Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!